eldest child is 7. He's learning about Ellis Island in school and wants to know where he comes from. My father-in-law has the history of that side of the family, and my maternal grandmother, 92 and still sharp, can share what she recalls of our Slovak family's emigration. But there's scant information about my dad's lineage, and even less I'm willing to share with my son right now. Here's what he'll hear about his great-great-grandfather. Roch Kozlowski was born in Poland in 1889. As a young man, he came here, got married, and had 8 kids. Can you imagine how busy their small house must have been? He worked in a brass foundry and was a part-time bootlegger. I'll explain that when you're older. Once there was an accident in his house and everyone almost died. They survived, but the story was on the front page of the newspaper. One of Roch's children was named Walt. He was my grandpa, and he fought for our freedom in a war. His son, also named Walt, is my dad. You call him Papa. Papa was the first in this family line to graduate from college. He had me, and I got married and had you. That's it for now. Along the way, I have learned a few more details. My father tells me Roch made bootleg liquor during Prohibition, and he went blind in 1952, about when my dad was born. My grandfather would visit Roch with my dad. Roch would rub my dad's head and tousle his hair to feel how tall he'd gotten. Then Roch and Grandpa would chat in Polish until it was time to leave. Roch died of TB before I was born, but one of his children is still alive, my great-aunt Helen. She says Roch emigrated from Poland in 1910 to avoid mandatory military service. He married, had kids, and owned a popular speakeasy during Prohibition. Unfortunately, Aunt Helen's memory suffers a bit. Her uncle, Roch's brother, owned a saloon, which I think she's conflating with Roch's bootlegging. Then there's the story older generations swear is true. They say that there was a gas leak in Roch's house in the 30s that almost killed the whole family. It led to complications that claimed the life of Roch's 7-year-old daughter, Dorothy, whom he called Dottie. The old folks say the ordeal did appear on the front page of the Bridgeport Post, but my search of newspaper archives found nothing. I assume faulty memories, but I'll accept that maybe I didn't research it well enough. With some of my own research, I have learned that Roch successfully avoided the military, but did fill out a draft card for World War II. From it, I learned his middle name, Zygmunt, and birth date, August 16th, 1889. It told me he stood 5'6", weighed 200 pounds, with a ruddy complexion, gray eyes, and a head full of brown, graying hair. I have one picture of him. It's black and white and yellow. Roch looks like a portly version of Grandpa. The 1910 census lists his occupation as love maker in a factory. I chalk this up to my poor reading of a century-old script, since I'm pretty sure that wasn't an actual job title. By 1930, his position was molder in a brass foundry, and a decade later, in the last census publicly available, molder in a machine shop. In 1954, according to the Bridgeport Post, he was a pallbearer, twice, while blind. Most of that I'll save for my son until he's older. But for now, I'll add, if Roch were alive today, he wouldn't be able to see you. But he'd reach out, and he'd tousle your hair, and he'd comment in Polish on how big you're getting.